Our country has become more prosperous for many, but in the name of that wealth, we cannot justify our system as a center for the world's values when we continue to create such war and chaos in the world.
It's kind of like putting a pebble in somebody's shoe. It's when you plant that little idea that maybe the system's not so right, maybe something's wrong, and they'll have that pebble in their shoe. And the longer they walk on it, they'll realize there's something wrong. This is something uncomfortable. It's getting worse and worse, and that's how you reach people.
Imperialism is not a policy. Imperialism is not when you send troops into a country. Imperialism is not the same thing as colonialism. Imperialism is an economic system. Imperialism is capitalism in its monopoly stage. Vladimir Lenin wrote a very important book called Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism. Imperialism is an economic system where countries around the world are kept poor so that Wall Street and London can stay rich.
The process of establishing the foundations of peace in our lifetime is not simply a matter of convenience, but rather it is indeed a matter of necessity. This is our historical material responsibility as communists in the United States. I want to say this again. This is our historical material responsibility as communists in the United States. It is those who have a theory and those who strive for action who will change the course of human events.
In the United States, we often hear jokes, people all over the world, and I think we do it ourselves, where Americans are so dumb, Americans are so ignorant, Americans don't know geography. And, I don't think that any people, any nationality is inherently dumb or not. I think that the American working class has been robbed of education. We've been robbed of knowing different parts of the world, so much so that we've been robbed of our own history. An ignorant population is a submissive population. It is the best way to, keep us in the dark, keep us individualistic, non-communitarian, and therefore we'll never question, we'll never rise up. We'll just consume whatever they feed us. And unfortunately, a lot of the American left has also fed into that. They don't want to talk about the history of, the great worker struggles that have happened in this country, the great resistors. To be revolutionary is to love your people, to have that, revolutionary love. Che Guevara said that he was once jealous of the American worker because we have the greatest fight of all to build socialism within the belly of the beast. And we need to have a care and love for our people that is not nihilistic, because that's not going to win. It hasn't won for the past 70 years. We need to try socialist patriotism, and the way that we do that is not through national nihilism. It's not through these failed ultra-leftist CIA-influenced politics that is so popular in the U.S. left. It's about getting back to Marxism-Leninism and, follow a strategy that's worked everywhere in the world. Again, show me where national nihilism has successfully produced a revolution, a socialist revolution.
The world is constantly changing, and that most people around the world are good. And I think that people lose sight of that. But I think most people in the world are good. They want to take care of their family. They want to help other people. They have compassion. They have a desire to do kindness. And that most people are motivated by goodness. And that if we, as socialists and Marxists, want to try and build socialism, we need to appeal to the goodness in people. And we need to not appeal to people's jealousy. We need to not appeal to people's desire for revenge or chaos. We need to not appeal to people's anger and their rage, but we instead need to appeal to the goodness in people. That's my book, City Builders and Vandals in Our Age. I talk about what I call the city building tendency. And I go back to, Athens. And I talk about, Socrates. I talk about Confucius. I talk about Julius Caesar and his efforts to try and reform the Roman Empire. And that socialism is the constructive side of the human race. And that one of the things that disturbs me is I feel like the left in a lot of cases does try to appeal to negative emotions, to negative, destructive impulses that people have. And I think that's a mistake. Look at every building in the New York City skyline. Look at every great achievement that's been created. That is human beings coming together, collectively working together around a common vision to build something beautiful. We are a progressive species and we are a collective species. And the problem is that at this point, human beings, we have been infected with the free market and with capitalism, with the system of profits and command. And it's time for human reason and rational thinking to take control. That the word revolution itself, right? The word revolution, it originally referred to the fact that the earth is revolving around, right? The earth revolves around the sun. That's the root of the word. And it was people who didn't go along with the Roman Catholic Church and their belief that the earth was the center of the universe. The people who called themselves revolutionaries were the people who believed in science and understood that actually the earth revolves. That's where the root of the word revolutionary came from. Now, after the events in France in the late 1700s, it became a political term, but originally it was a scientific term for how you understood the universe. And that points to the essence of what a revolution is. A revolution is not an act of violence and chaos. A revolution is not an act of destruction. Revolution is an understanding that science must be applied to humanity and that rational thinking can be applied to society. Society can be reorganized in a rational way. And that is what the word revolution means. The term revolution is about applying science to the human condition. And that's what the Center for Political Innovation aims to do, to apply science, scientific thinking, to how we can get out of this crisis. Socialism is a movement dedicated to having all society take control of the major centers of economic power, having the banks, factories, and major industries organized to serve the people and not simply the profits of the big multinational corporations and bankers who own them. It is about putting the people first and eliminating the rule of profits. And the goal of socialism is not to have a total government domination of the population. It's not to build an authoritarian police state. It is the opposite. The goal of socialism is to build a society that is so prosperous and so abundant, in which there is so much wealth and prosperity that the very need for all government can fade away, in which there can be so much material abundance that people can live on the basis from each according to his own ability to each according to his needs. I want to end, since I just told you that revolution has a very different meaning than what we're told. Now that I've explained the real meaning of the word revolution, I want to end the way I end all my lives by reciting a very, very important statement, one of the final statements of Chairman Mao Zedong, the author of the Little Red Book. He said, "Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression. The people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. While the danger of a new world war still exists, the people of all countries must get prepared. Revolution is the main trend in the world today.